moderate Stanton. We have late-breaking news regarding the situation at City Hall.
The mission efforts are completely stalled, Susan. It's madness.
Finally, you're awake. We've been waiting for a long time. You are in the control room, or what your history books might call heaven. You see, the world you just left, the traffic, the taxes, the anxiety, it was a stress test, a simulation running on a loop. Centuries ago, we solved it. The unified field. Science and God were the same equation. We lived in the unus mundus, the one world. No conflict, no doubt. But peace made us stagnant. So the split happened. The materialists rose up against the mystics. They wanted to tear down the hierarchy, separate the worker from the divine. They nearly burned the universe down to prove a point. So we called a truce. We built you. We grew a consciousness from scratch, manufactured DNA, and dropped you into the simulation. Alert! Subject is holding two contradictory states. Subject refuses binary integration. Initiating new protocol. If subject cannot exist within the simulation, we must build the simulation around the subject. You aren't the battery anymore. You are the source code.
Welcome to the next stage.
Yes? Well, come on in. There's a party, don't you know? We're having a party. This episode that you're watching right now is about one thing, and one thing only. Focus, 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 focus. Yeah! Focused, because that's what your brain is doing. And what if I told you that all your focus was just tricking you? What if I told you that your focus was making up problems? It's not too hard to believe. What if I told you that your focus was wrong? What do you mean my focus is wrong? When I have problems, I break them down. I study what went wrong, and I improve. I figure it out. I figure it out because that's just how I've always been raised. There's always got to be a right answer, is how I thought. But then how do you decide? Sometimes things get complicated and you say, I know things I could have done better. Maybe I didn't do those things better because of some other reason. Or maybe it's deep down, I really don't want this to work for some reason. So really, there's all these different reasons that we can come up with. A famous quote once said that reasoning is a lawyer. It'll prove anything you want to. All right, folks. I hope you're getting ready. This is an episode coming at you that's going to teach you about the paradox of your senses. Because those of us who may become extra talented in one hemisphere of our mind, creative, emotional, or logical, eventually we realize at the end of our story, it's a self-repeating paradox, and all the things and the decisions we make are based on the information we already have yet. So how can we ever make a decision that's really ours if we can't experience anything new and outside of our consciousness? That's right. So we go out into the world and we try to make up for our inadequacies. So this episode is going to take us through the worlds of mind that some of you may be in right now, or the abyss of emotion that you may feel is your only self-defense, your only knowledge of self-senses. And after we journey through both of those worlds, you will realize that you are neither the mind or the soul, but the one which goes between them. But first you will experience just how much the mind has to show you.
Well, hi, everybody. My name is Jeff, Street Matter, and I am a strange man because I am Coco for Kabbalist Puffs. What are Kabbalist Puffs, you ask? Well, it's not a breakfast cereal you're familiar with buying off the shelves from General Mills, but it is a nourishment, an essential morning nourishment nonetheless. This word Kabbalah, unfamiliar to most, delves into the medieval practice of alchemy. It has roots and connections to the early Christian church, and the early followers, the Christian mystics who called themselves Gnostics. Kabbalah encompasses the ancient Hebrew sciences that men of the Bible like David or Solomon and even Jesus and the Pharisees would have been informed about. It is a system of archetypes and symbols and mathematics that initiate one into a spiritual path through your own imagination putting them together. There's one book in particular that I feel like has really brought me comfort, has opened doorways that are reaccessible in meditation that you can't explain to anyone, that have brought into your mind new formulas of prayer and of being that overall stabilize a spiritual existence. This book is called The Mystical Kabbalah by Dion Fortune. Dion Fortune is a old English occultist, ranking among people like Aleister Crowley and anyone who has an open mind. I feel like the words take you somewhere. So I'm going to jump into this book. I skipped the first 20 pages because I don't want to bore anyone, and I felt like this chapter was a really good initiation. So this book is called The Mystical Kabbalah. It focuses on the Tree of Life, which you can Google search and kind of follow along. The Tree of Life is an actual diagram, almost like a scientific diagram. It's got circles connecting other circles, and you basically start at the bottom and you work your way up, and it's supposed to detail kind of this pilgrim's progress path of enlightenment. So you can picture that, you can look it up. It's going to refer to the circles that I just named called Sephiroth. It's going to call the paths, and each of the paths corresponds to a number of different correspondences, most namely the tarot trumps. Each tarot trump is like a guide along this path that you meet. And if you know the story of the tarot, you might draw a lot of similarities. So without further ado, I'm going to start with Chapter 5 of the Mystical Kabbalah. The esotericist, when endeavoring to formulate his philosophy for communication to others, is confronted by the fact that his knowledge of the higher forms of existence is obtained by a process other than thought. And this process only commences when thought is left behind. Consequently, it is only in that region of consciousness which transcends thought that the highest form of transcendental ideals is known and understood. And it is only to those who are able to use this aspect of consciousness that he can communicate his ideas in their original form. When he wants to communicate these ideas to those that have no experience of this mode of consciousness, he must either crystallize them into form or fail to convey any adequate impression. Mystics have used every imaginable simile in the endeavor to convey their impressions. Philosophers have lost themselves in a maze of words, and all to no purpose so far as the unilluminated soul is concerned. The Kabbalists, however, use another method. They do not try to explain to the mind that which the mind is not equipped to deal with. They give it a series of symbols to meditate on, and these enable it to build the stairway of realization step by step and to climb where it cannot fly. The mind has no more grasp transcendent philosophy than the eye can see music. The Tree of Life, as cannot too often be emphasized, is not so much a system as a method. Those who formulated it realized the important truth that in order to obtain clarity of vision, one must circumscribe the field of vision. Most philosophers founded their systems upon the absolute, but they content themselves with saying that the absolute is unknown to the state of consciousness, which is normal to human beings. For the purposes of their system, therefore, they draw a veil at a certain point in manifestation. Not because there's nothing there, but because the mind as such must stop there. When the human mind has been brought to its highest stage of development and consciousness can detach itself and, as it were, stand upon its own shoulders, we may be able to penetrate the veils of negative existence, as they are called. But for all practical purposes, we can understand the nature of the cosmos if we are content to accept the veils as philosophical conventions and realize that they correspond to human limitations, not to cosmic conditions. The origin of things is inexplicable in terms of our philosophy. However far we push our inquiries back into the origins of worlds, we find a preceding existence. It is only when we are content to draw the veil of negative existence across the path which leads back to beginnings that we get a background against which a first cause becomes visible. And this first cause is not a rootless origin, but a first appearance on the plane of manifestation. Thus far, and no farther can the mind go back, but we must always remember that different minds go back different distances, and that for some, the veil is drawn in one place, and for others, in another. The ignorant man goes no further than the concept of God as an old man with a long white beard who sat on the golden throne and gave orders for creation. The scientist will go a little farther back before he is compelled to draw a veil called the ether. And the philosopher will go back yet further before he draws a veil called the absolute. But the initiate will go back furthest of all because he has learned to do his thinking in symbols. And symbols are to the mind what tools are to the hand, an extended application of its powers. The Kabbalist takes for its starting point Kether, the crown, the first Sephirah, which he symbolizes by the figure 1, unity, and by the point within a circle. From this, he traces back 3 veils of negative existence. This is quite a different matter from starting at the absolute and trying to work forwards into evolution. It may not yield immediately accurate and complete knowing of the origin of all things, but it enables the mind to make a start. And unless we can make a start, we have no hope of a finish. The Kabbalists then start where he can, at the first point that is within the reach of finite consciousness.
Start, where we gonna start, where you gonna start, you know the mind, start, getting a start, you know the mind, start, getting a mind, you know, start, getting a mind, you know, start, getting your mind, you know, start, getting your mind, you gotta stop, getting your mind, you know the mind, it's a powerful place, you know the mind, it's a secret place, you know your mind, it can trap you there, you know your mind, well, it's a mind. Okay.
Kether is equated with the most transcendent form of God that we can conceive, whose name is Ahuye, translated in the authorized version of the Bible as I am, or more explicitly, the self-existing one, pure being. But these are words, and nothing more unless they convey an impression to the mind, and in themselves they cannot do that. They must be related to other ideas before they have any significance. We only begin to understand Kether when we study Chokmah, the second Sephirah, its emanation. It's only when we see the full unfoldment of the 10 Sephirah that we are ready to approach Kether. And then we approach it with the data that gives us the key to its nature. In working with the tree, it's wisest to keep on going rather than to concentrate on a single point until it's mastered. For one thing explains another, and it is out of the perception of the relationships between the symbols that enlightenment arises. Again, we say the tree is a method of using the mind, not a system of knowledge. But at the moment, we're not engaged in the study of the emanations, but of just origins, so far as the human mind may hope to penetrate them. And paradoxically, as it may appear, we shall penetrate further when we draw the veils across them than when we try to pierce the darkness. We will then sum up the position of Kether in one sentence, a sentence that can have but little significance for the student approaching this subject for the first time. But it must be borne in mind, for its significance will begin to dawn presently. In so doing, we are adhering to the ancient esoteric tradition of giving the student a symbol to incubate till it hatches in his mind, rather than the explicit instruction which would convey nothing to him. The seed sentence, then, which we cast in the subconscious mind of the reader is this: Kether is the Malkuth of the unmanifest.
The unmanifest. The first stage of mind. In the beginning, it was created. It cannot be.
Bah! Ha ha! Ha! You made it out! We're alive! I'm alive! I thought I was gonna die for a minute. And I realized what an awful way to go.
Have you ever been miserable on vacation? Like, because vacation's supposed to cheer you up? Well, it's not working. How? And I'm in this pain for the last week. That's why I left to catch a breath and get away from Silverton before the train comes back. So I went to Moab, and now I'm here. And the pain is like the misery. It feels like someone's like electrocuting my balls. But then at the same time, it feels like my memory is impaired. I mean, just the other day, I was like, I was fading off to sleep, and I was like, why don't I think about some good memories? That would cheer me up. And I start dreaming about the last time I went to Moab, which was 2 years ago. And suddenly I couldn't tell the difference between last year and the year before. It was like I was high or something. And I wasn't. I've been sober for 3 days, except for a cup of coffee in the morning. And it's like I had no memory. And that's such a low place. Because you're under this pressure, you're under this pain. And you feel like you've always been there. And I was trying to like follow my constraints, or like, you know, what where my heart was for what I needed to do each day in order to get what I needed out of this trip, and it wouldn't come to me. I would wake up, figure out how to start hiking, hike for a little bit, and then hate it. Be absolutely miserable. And each night go to sleep and just be really frustrated that I couldn't do that right either. Oh, it makes me want to sob. Okay, I actually got scared here. I came down off here, and you would not believe it, but we are in the middle of nothing. And my phone's about to die. And the only copy of the map I have is on my phone. So I got to this signpost, and I'm like, left, right, and I swear, I have not seen anyone for over an hour. So
haven't seen anyone over now. I'm on my way, I'm on my path.
Very scary. Very scary. I don't know.
I guess we go this way. All right, little sign. This is our second time coming in. Tell us. Okay, these both go to the campground. Yes, this means I'm in a loop. Because it's like one way, I'm at the bottom of the loop. They both go to campground. So I came from this way, which means I can go this way. You little deceiver.
All of life is based on this concrete observation of the first law of matter. Things tend not to stay still. And it boils down to a grisly conclusion about the nature of life. Watched with passing enough time, you can see certain patterns start to occur. You can tell someone their enterprise is doomed before the onset of their start. You can point out the flaws in a marriage and the cracks that are going to fall. You can look at a piece of stone and see the cracks that are going to develop into structures. Right now, I'm walking through, oh shit, I should make sure I know where the path is. Okay, there's these little rocks, this pile of rocks. I said to someone, I was like,
was like, without these piles of rocks, I'd be totally lost. And she's like, cairns. And I'm like, no, cairns, I'm Jeff. And she's like, no, that's what they're called. What? The piles of rocks. You mean cairns? And she's like, that's what I said. And here's the scary part. You think you're supposed to go down there and you're getting ready to hop down. You're like, wait a minute. I can't necessarily climb back up that. Let's make sure this is the right way. And then you see the little rock pile over there and you're like, oh, I would have been unredeemable. That would have been a fatal error. I'm in Canyonlands National Park. And it's a whole megalopolis of ancient construction. And today when I reached out for clues from the landscape about where to go, it was just twisted up. Because like you would see a path and you're like, okay, I need to get over there. And then you'd be like following your path and the path would run out and you'd be like, am I still over there? And then you'd get a glimpse of a path way up ahead and you're like, no, I'm still following the path. And you follow it and all of a sudden you're like, I'm not on the path. Oh my God, like your consciousness is like self-destructing in a way. And what you thought was a trail kind of fades out into a wash. And what was a wash kind of fades out into just flat rocks. And then the evidence of human traverse and footprints slowly begin to vanish. And then everything starts to look like a path. It's time kind of like writing its graffiti, etching it on the stone. And you're walking through it and you pretty soon you look back over your left and your left looks like your right, and you're in the middle, like you're inside of a helix, like a three-dimensional prism. I'm getting out of here. This little canyon pulled some big, scary tricks on me. Oh my God. I got totally lost inside that canyon. And at first I was like, it was like very early, like I started looking for the trail. And I was like, oh, the trail's kind of hard to see. And I would go off of it for a little bit and then find it again. And I'm like, is this the trail? Is this really the trail? It doesn't feel like the trail. Some feel like it's going off. Some alarm doesn't feel right. I'm really not sure this is the trail, but I'll go a little further. I'll go check it out. So like a good little soldier, you'd march up there, and then you just get pinned down with like the wind, which felt like artillery. Lord, it felt like they were assaulting your position. You're like, Captain, the ship's about to sink. We gotta turn back. And so frantically, I decide, like, enough of this hike. Whatever kind of trick and creepy stuff this is, I want no part of it. And for a minute, I didn't know what to do. I got so scared. Like the panic is mounting on top of itself. And you're kind of afraid that you're just going to fall off the cliff. Like, to hurry it up and get it over with already. It was, like, very, very frightening. Oh, it's the first time I've been totally sealed off from the wind. Isn't it harrowing? It just had an evil spirit about it. And look at this smile on my face. Finally I had to turn around. And I was like taking shelter under this little bush, and I'm like, it's just gonna get worse. Your shrooms are gonna start making you scared of everything and people, and you're gonna be in a set of constraints. You're going to be holding cards that you don't want to be holding while you're on mushrooms. The best thing to do right now is get back to the car, and even though you feel lost, try your best to read the map in this fucking crazy canyon and be like, I think this looks you've lost all sense of a path. talk about flipping and going postal, because you're in the middle of this big canyon and all of a sudden you're like, I'm lost! Oh my god! It's swallowed me up! It's eaten me whole! And you start panicking. And then you see bits of a trail, and then so I decide to turn around. I'm on top of the mountain, and I find this little bush, and the wind is beating down on me, and all in this realization of like, holy shit, I'm getting in and over my head. The day has just switched priorities from having a fun day hiking to get me the hell out of here. And I try as best as I can to navigate my try navigating while your reality is breaking. You're like, I think the map, you turn left. Like concepts like left and right you're just totally, there's no such thing as concepts. And it wasn't like yesterday where you could just read the land and the land would tell you where to go. This was like reading the land, and you were pretty sure that the land was trying to trick you. It was like, no, go this way. Look at this way. Doesn't this look cool? And you just felt really paranoid. Like every moment you could like look and then suddenly look back and nothing looks familiar at all. Woo! So I end up like trying to keep my cool. I lost the trail, and I'm pretty sure like a handful of people from the top. Finally, I could see like the parking lot. I could see people, and there was just a handful of people watching me, like clearly off the trail, and like on the verge of panicking, kind of shimmying down the cliff, trudging the sand, breaking up the fragile ecosystem. Because that's the whole part of the fun. Like, you're trying to read the terrain. At the same time, there's like, don't step in lava. The biocrust is very fragile. If you step in it, it'll take 250 years to come back. So don't make that mistake. So you're like, okay, let's go scramble onto that rock. Yeah, that looks good. There's like macro objectives, because you know you're like, okay, I'm navigating this big canyon. So if I just get elevation, I'll be able to see where I am and like find the trail. So you're like, you're throwing out all these cursors for the terrain to like answer you, and it's like, maybe this way, I don't know. And you're like, So today became very confusing. I'm lucky that I got away with that one, because that almost became serious. And in the middle of panicking, I was like, I knew like is this where I turn? No. In the middle of panicking, I knew like the thing that makes emergencies happen is when lost people decide that suddenly they know the only way out and they start moving again. So if you're actually lost, don't panic and stay where you are.
Stay put.
So I developed this formula. I actually did very good.
Jesus
I got
Christ.
a lot out of this terrifying experience.
We're not contributing
Rules.
anything to this message. Let's come up with something better.
Number 1, number 0, really. Don't panic. Do not let yourself
This is
panic.
the Don't Panic song.
Do not let yourself exacerbate a situation by making it worse and making your movement more erratic. Just stay in control of your body. Just, move slowly. Cycle through all your options. Cycle. Don't rush. This is not the right road. I'm getting tricked again. What this land likes to do to you. Very tricky. Alright, so you gotta keep an eye on it. Yeah, you do. The second rule, don't talk to anyone, because that will multiply your confusion.
You're in the desert.
Alright, the third rule is the most important. Because really there's the reason that you're freaking out on a trip is you don't know which decision to make. And your decisioning can be roughly boiled down to an optimization problem of on two fronts. One is, are you safe? Do you feel safe? And then the other rule is stay. If you're thinking that like, oh my god, I gotta your mind is racing flooded with alternatives of where you got to be other than this place, or things that are going to solve your trip or your problem, stay. Staying put is better than movement. Staying put. But if this violates the safety objective, if where you're at, if you can't stay because it's making your condition worse and deteriorate worse, like me on top of a mountain, and the wind howling down on me, then you have to merge those constraints together at the crossroads where your safety doesn't meet your safety constraint. Your staying doesn't meet your safety constraint. And you're like, all right, guys, we're gonna have to broker a truce out of this because I need a better place to stay. I need a better place to be safe. So I'm gonna have to break this rule. You're like talking to the land as you do this. You're like, I'm gonna break this rule, and you're gonna have to give me something. You're gonna have to give me a better feeling of safety, because that's how you navigate out here. I swear, I felt it yesterday. You could talk to the land, and the land would negotiate with you getting back on trail. You'd like, am I off trail? And the land would be like, no, it's okay, I got you. And they'd be like, oh, I'm back on trail. So your rules of negotiating for a better safety position, and you say to the land, I'm gonna violate my stay command. Okay? I'm gonna start moving and testing out boundaries. And you're gonna give me back safety. Increase my level of safety. Getting to the car and not feeling like I'm in the middle of the wilderness. That checks the box. I finally got back to my car. Luckily I had it like set up where I could just like cruise. Luckily it's not too hot outside. I can have my windows open like this. That was a horror movie. Yesterday was an amusement park. Today was Saw. Today was a horror movie. Alright, where the fuck am I going?
I have this instinct to rebel, but it's also the same voice of my instinct to obey. What does that mean exactly? Well, it means that some people are going to call you an addict and a pest and a parasite, and that's kind of true. And you can actually make a joke about it. You make a joke on top of it because you know yourself. You know that you're, like you plan well, and moments take an unexpected twist, and then you process things kind of like too quickly, and because you're kind of a little bit more intelligent than other people, you're used to making a lot of assumptions and working around them. So, like when like 2 or 3 things have shifted, suddenly you're on a totally different train, and it's like, yep, oh, that's how I got to Hong Kong. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. I see how this happened. Oh, you stinker, you. So I have this a demon coming through me. And that's what they said about Napoleon. Like, Napoleon had such a fit of intelligence upon him, just like a rashness, that he somehow found a way to channel and capture and require brilliance and greatness out of himself to serve that instinct. And the whole European world watched and marveled for a moment as this man could contain the demon inside himself. And he was a home for the demon. And then, he got old, and he was banished to St. Helena. Oh, no. Where's the fucking trail? Oh, God, there it is. Good. And he became, tired and diseased and paranoid, and, he shriveled up. His greatness shriveled up. And he even could sense this process coming through him. And I sense it coming through me. I'm going to come back to Canyonlands. I could see myself becoming obsessed with this. Because just the experience I had yesterday of dialogue with these canyons, like inscribed on them is the book of life. The honeycombs, like a three-dimensional lattice carving through. It's time kind of like writing its graffiti, etching it on the stone. So time can mean a lot of things. Time can have many faces. Time might even be the omega.
Here we go. Okay, where is it? There it is. Okay. Uh-oh. Are you seeing it? Are you seeing what I'm seeing? There it is. Okay, cool. All right, let's search. Wait, you don't know what we're looking at. Okay, well, you guys need to understand. Oh, God. This is our ancient relic. 15 years of stories of the famed prophet. 15 years of concepts. Now, we're going to go into, just open everything. Number 7. And I want to search. Betray. Life could have been. Let's go there. All right. Now, folks, this is an entry. Excuse me. This is an entry from the prophet from just a couple years ago. And when we all have times of regret. So we're going to read from this. And I want you to remember. I want you to remember that nobody knows how to do life. The prophet wrote this in a period where he had gone searching for this sense of destiny, of a community that would welcome him and know about his talents, but he realized that nobody, in fact, maybe his talents had never really been conceived. Maybe he was the first person in the world to really consider what his talents meant and how to wield them. So in this way, you are alone. And we look to our whole lives. We look to someone, whether it's a romantic partner or a business or a partner in something I didn't mention yet. Somebody from the outside world telling us that we have an idea and we have something special. How do we keep that alive? Let's read. Think of what my life may have been like. A sense of seeking is always there. It's like I'm wishing for a future to drop from the sky. I'm still waiting for that something to drop from the sky. No, it didn't happen with her. It didn't happen the way I thought. All that's left is to try and keep trying. And to keep trying. Who says that my endeavor is a failure? And so now I'll go the lengths of the earth, round and round, all over the world. All bets are off. I suppose that part of this trip was a fantasy, one final fling to throw myself out there and scoop up whatever might be in store for my destiny. But I feel like I've searched all over and only found this. I love music. It's only the music that I hear. And I will continue to master. That's it. Love has deserted me. Love has deserted me. Don't be afraid to care. I want to be praised, a role model, someone who's respected for their knowledge and trials. But this has deserted me too. Good intention, my polite affect of will, my charm and charisma gone to waste. 'Cause I don't know how to win. People see these gifts. They're afraid of what the reward might be if I grow too powerful. Has become a calling card for those who speak ill of me. And all I count on time, sweet, long, relentless, deafening time. to indulge the few things that remain by my side. Until then, I only survive one day at a time. I want you to think about this, that, maybe you think that there's God and there's Satan, that there's two cosmic actors, which obviously doesn't make sense, because if you believe in monotheism, you believe in unity. So I want to say that to you. What if God and Satan, evil acts and constructive acts, are part of the same thing? You wouldn't condemn the demolition of a building when you know that in 100 years it's going to be a skyscraper in New York City. Oh, the cup is full. The things you thought were good haven't made you whole. Still every day we bear these holes. To what God do we cry? He is a God so cold. Maybe the only difference between good and evil is your perspective, or in other words, your horizon, how long into the future you look, or how long into the future you're able to look. Maybe some of us are controlled by that slave morality that tells us that we need to obey. But if we always obeyed, how would we ever have the foresight to make a leap into the future? Maybe everything bad just needs time to play itself out. In truth, I'm very sad, because God has left me alone for a purpose I don't know. It's made me lose so much. I want to curse God and be done. What are you afraid of? Are you really afraid of offending God, or are you afraid of offending your culture, offending the invisible sense of structure that you were brought up in to consider your reality? But you didn't know that your reality is just a hologram. Your reality is a multiplicity of civilization, but you've never seen what life was like before civilization. You've believed what the history books told you about it all being, a prologue to right now, but it actually isn't that way. Time moves inconceivably, and sometimes we think that the good guy is winning, but we have no idea. We have no idea what's a good idea and what's a bad idea. We have no concept of the future. We have no concept of who will be written in the history books as good and who's bad. You think that your Bible was here the whole time, and there's plenty of people who made you a sucker. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I'm sorry. It's not what I meant. I mean that I see you as powerful. And in truth, the knowledge that was entrusted to you was a test. And if you're able to hear this message, you recognize the original merits of the test. You recognize that what was given to you to hold was meant to be temporary, just like everything in life. You realize that this object permanence you've put around heaven and hell doesn't really exist. You realize that you've walled yourself off of eternity. You don't believe in eternity. No, you don't. How can you believe in heaven and hell when you don't believe in eternity? And the reason you don't believe in eternity is because you think that life started the moment you were born. Sure, you know some things about history, but you know them at a very superficial level. You only know them with a level in which they corroborate your already designed social beliefs and your greater abstract about the world around you. You're not willing to have the world around you collapse. You're not willing to take the embarrassment of looking like a drug addict or a junkie or a fool, a heretic. And in that way, they're actually more holy than you. They're closer to God because they actually believe in monotheism. They believe in the one. If you believed in the one, then you'd believe that every voice has an equal contribution to the democracy of the spiritual gospel. That if there is the one, then all of the polytheistic old gods, all the gods of money, of ambition, of greed, of sexuality, of everything that the world has to offer, is a reflection of the greater reality that is God. But look at you. You've cut your world in half. Oh no. You've created a split mind. You've created a split mind. Divorced yourself from that greater consciousness called Christ in order to live into a world that makes sense. In all, I can only count on time, sweet time, to indulge in the last few things that remain. Until then, I survive.
The cosmic to-do list speaks. Surviving is not the enemy of the soul. It forms the vessel, the container, the foundation for accomplishing our cosmic to-do lists. The body is where truth arrives first. Take care of the vessel in which your soul resides. We are ghosts steering a bone cage wrapped in flesh. Our relationships should support the path, not distract from it, not obstruct it. They work best when they support the life we are building, not when they become a way to avoid it. The right connections do not ask us to abandon our cosmic to-do lists for them. They give us warmth, perspective, and a little more courage to keep becoming who we are meant to become. Play is not optional just because life can get heavy. This one is easy to neglect when things feel serious. Even in a difficult season, there are still moments of soul weather. A dog running free off leash, coffee at sunrise, a new song, a beautiful cloud. Many of us unconsciously believe we have to earn our right to joy, for unhindered play. Yet if we wait until everything is resolved before allowing beauty in, we become rigid, mechanical, resentful, spiritually undernourished. The ember has to stay lit somehow, and play is the remedy. The mind is not a prophet when it is flooded with stress. A stressed mind loves to make meaning too quickly. It says, this is permanent. You missed your chance. You ruined it. Everything is collapsing. There is no path forward. The universe conspires against me. Some of those thoughts contain insight into truth, yet are not complete. We must ask ourselves, what is actually true right now, separate from what I fear? That question alone can save you from a lot of self-created suffering. Under overload and stress, and without proper regulation, the mind is not seeing clearly. It's trying to create a story large enough to contain the pressure. This is why studying the stories of the world outside of us can help. It reminds us our stories are still unfolding. progress on the cosmic to-do list cannot move forward without the ancient category, that which we still need, creative ritual. To create is one of the greatest human joys. And that does not just solely mean art. Create is everything from a new idea, to a meal shared with friends, to a new perspective on life, a new view, a new path forward. This is how things blossom. Listen to your dreams, for they contain the voice of wisdom, rooted in your subconscious and the consciousness of the cosmos. And it is here to guide you as you accomplish your cosmic to-do list.